Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. Winter, 1777. Amid freezing conditions, epidemic disease, and shortages of food, clothing, and supplies, General George Washington's Continental Army faces possible destruction.
In late 1777, George Washington was kind of at his lowest point. The Continental Army had been driven out of the national capital of Philadelphia to a winter encampment at Valley Forge. There was an optimism that they would eventually be able to push the British out of Philadelphia, but that optimism was dim and bleak in December 1777 at Valley Forge.
Years later, an aide to General Washington revealed what happened next.
Washington went out into the woods at Valley Forge to pray. And he saw this image of this spirit, garbed in white, that assured him, you will win this war. And the spirit laid out for Washington the history of what would be the United States of America.
After this meeting, Washington was invigorated. He was inspired. And he realized this is divine fate for the United States to exist. But he first had to defeat the British, which he did.
Could George Washington really have had an otherworldly visitation at Valley Forge? If so, he isn't the only founding father associated with an alien encounter. In 1801, Thomas Jefferson filed one of the country's first official UFO reports after astronomer William Dunbar told him about an unexplained aerial sighting at Baton Rouge, Louisiana. In his report, Jefferson wrote of a fast-moving luminous object about 70 to 80 feet long that flew by at about 200 yards above the ground. After it disappeared over the horizon, the witnesses heard a tremendous impact in a nearby forest. Upon investigating, they found a crash site where everything had been burned and scorched.
Thomas Jefferson, when he was vice president, wrote up an official report of a UFO sighting that had happened in Baton Rouge. He wrote it up for the American Philosophical Association. So that arguably is the first case where someone who would go on to be president made an official UFO report.
The American Philosophical Society was founded by Benjamin Franklin, who, like Thomas Jefferson, openly expressed his belief in the existence of intelligent extraterrestrial life.
The Founding Fathers' worldview accommodated the idea that there would be people in other worlds. And that was principled upon this idea that you cannot limit God's creativity just to the world that you observe. They literally had a vision of not just the world where we live, but the world beyond it. And that world beyond theirs was populated by extraterrestrials.
Could the Founding Fathers have been aware of an otherworldly presence that was helping to ensure the success of the American experiment? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes, and suggest that so too was the man who took office at another crucial moment in the nation's history, Abraham Lincoln. On April 14th, 1865, just hours before he would be assassinated, President Lincoln made a shocking admission to General Ulysses S. Grant.
Lincoln met with Grant, who is awaiting news from General Sherman about a battle in North Carolina. And Lincoln assured General Grant that news would come and it would be positive. And Lincoln told him that on the eve of every great battle, Antietam, Gettysburg, Bull Run, he had the same dream. He was in some kind of indescribable vessel that he was sailing at a very rapid pace. And that this, in fact, led him to understand that this would be a positive outcome for the Union forces and lead to the doom of the Confederacy.
It's almost as if at these pivotal turning points in human history, the president is shown how the United States will ultimately triumph. It's a sort of galactic manifest destiny.